Good morning.
Good morning. Today is January the 15th, 2023, and our title this morning is The Internal Song. And what we mean by the internal song is that what you're listening to all the time, which is the song as a metaphor. It's really all your beliefs, all your thoughts and beliefs. And so our theme today is that your beliefs create your experience. And that is the internal song. And it is also, when it comes to your core structure of beliefs, it ultimately has to do with what you believe about the universe and what you believe about God. So it's also about faith. And so let's begin with an opening prayer. So we come together and know the truth of our experience is that it is done unto us according to our beliefs. And we mean by that that there is a universal law of how the world works, and that is that we experience what we believe. It is done unto us according to our belief. And so our job, should we choose to accept it, is to examine our beliefs and endeavor to change those that do not serve us. So we give thanks for knowing about this law that's called by many names, the law of cause and effect, the law of correspondence, but it is basically, we also call it the law of mind. It is basically this idea that we get what we believe and what we expect. And so we give thanks for understanding this magnificent law and the freedom it gives us to change our experience. We give thanks, we release, and together we say,
And so it
and
is.
so it is.
I was thinking another way to say that is to refer to that belief system and faith as a kind of soundtrack in the background of
Mm-hmm.
consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that soundtrack that carries and delivers the emotional part that allows us to embrace and engage and connect at a very deep heart level.
Mm-hmm. And when I say we get what we expect, I don't mean we expect everything. I mean, everything that happens to us is something we expected. I've certainly had lots of surprises in my life, but it is the tendency of our thought and our beliefs that outpictures. Our founder Ernest Holmes called it what we refer to as our subconscious as the subjective, and that was the first word used in psychology. So he was writing in 1920s, 1925. That was the word used for subconscious. And he says that it's all in the subjective, but that we can change what's in our subjective, much like a person can change a glass of dirty water by pouring in clean water into it. Eventually, the clean water replaces the dirty water.
Right.
And so can we with our beliefs and our thoughts.
It is the sheer volume of positivity that can transform the water from dirty water to clean water.
And he also made the point, which was different from Freud. He made the point that by pouring in the positive thoughts, let's say, that eventually replace the fearful negative ones that live in our subconscious, that the conscious can change the subconscious. Freud said we were powerless victims over our subconscious.
Well, he didn't talk about where that subconscious, the origin of the subconscious, which is the conscious experiences that are internalized.
Mm-hmm.
If the unconscious or subconscious is the sum total of assessments made by or from the input of the conscious mind, with more conscious mind information, things change. And
That's
so
true.
we're literally that the conscious mind literally is pouring water into the subconscious, and as it does that, it's able to transform it. How many things did you believe when you were younger that were limiting, that you have since transformed or changed or given up, and now your life is very different because of that?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's important also for us to realize that no matter what it is that has been bothering us in the background, we don't always have to go and find that thing. We need to pour more good into the well until eventually it is either so small or it simply is flushed away.
I've had Christians come and asked me where we got this idea that that our beliefs create our experience. And I said, well, it was one of the main teachings of Jesus, when the woman who wanted to be healed was waiting for him to walk by, but didn't dare even go up to meet him, but just touched the robe of his, the bottom of his robe, because she said to herself, if I can just touch his garment, I will be healed. And he felt the energy leave his body, I guess. The Bible doesn't say. But anyway, he turned to her and said, and she said, I knew that if I would just touch your garment, I would be healed. And he said, woman, it is done unto you according to your belief. And he didn't say, yes, my power is so great, if anybody touches my robe, they'll be healed. He didn't say that. He said, you believed it, you got it. And it's in there several places, a number of places where he talks about it. It's your belief that did it. The centurion that had come to him to heal his servant, and he was about to go with him to go heal the servant, and he said, no, you don't have to go. Just say the word, and my servant will be healed. And he said, wow, I have faith like this I haven't seen anywhere else. And of course the servant was healed. So it's a basic tenet of Christianity. We didn't create something new and mystical with this and making it a law, but it is. And you know what is the proof of it? The scientific proof of it is the placebo. People are given a pill that shouldn't do anything, but maybe raise your blood sugar a little bit, will heal them because they think it's medicine, and they believe it will heal them. So when they believe it will heal them, they get healed. Not all the time, not everybody.
So the placebo,
but if it happens one time, it's enough to get your attention. If the medicines that we come up with were as effective as the placebo effect, they would call them a huge success.
In fact, it's difficult with medicines often to separate the placebo effect from the actual benefit of the medicine. So imagine them working together. Imagine the medicine that's in favor of you and you being in favor of you, or you being in favor of the outcome. When I worked in the emergency room, I used to see a lot of patients who would come in who had reactions to the medications the doctor had given them. And the doctor would say, there's nothing wrong with this. So I began asking questions. One of the questions I would say, when the doctor gave this prescription to you, what did he tell you? He said, just take it. Just take this, get this filled as soon as, and I said, well, how did it feel? I felt he was indifferent. And I said, well, that medicine is not a medicine everybody gets, so I'm going to guess your doctor really cared about you to give you that medicine, and it's a good medicine. Why don't you try it for another week and come back and let us know what happened? The side effects would disappear. Again and again, the side effects people were having was not the medicine. It was the effect of the person giving them the medicine and what they said and how they cared. Imagine then that one component of all medicine is caring. And what it's like when we're given something that we don't care, or that we're not cared for.
So, when we're growing up as kids, we often, we don't get what we want all the time, if ever. It seems like, you might want an ice cream cone every day, and mom says no. So we grow up feeling rather powerless, and then we believe that's the truth of reality. And yet, what if we understood? And you did have a few things that you really, really wanted, and you did get them. Well, part of that is that strong desire. So it's the belief, the idea, and strong desire for it that is like the gasoline that makes the desire come true. And that reminds me of the wonderful metaphor we came up with about this idea of faith and getting what you want. Do you want to start with that?
Faith and belief. Faith is the fuel. And
God's the fuel.
See, that's why I said no. I wasn't going to say anything. Let's talk about limestone.
God is the power.
Yeah, God is the power. Okay, and this is my idea.
So the power is the fuel.
Right, and the power is the fuel, and you're the vehicle, or you're the automobile that the gasoline goes into, but you have to set your GPS for it to be able to go someplace. You have to decide where you want to go. And what happens for a lot of us is that we say, this is what I want. I'm going to pray for this. And we're the vehicle that can contribute to what's happening. As we say in our teaching, treat or pray and move your feet. And the reason for that is you have to decide to put that vehicle into motion, and the motion needs to match the thing that you said that you want to have. That is, it needs to be in favor of that. But you have to believe, first off, that you are fueled, and that the fuel you have is enough fuel to get you to where you want to go. The God fuel is constant. It's everlasting. It will never go away. Now, what's the vehicle? Our vehicle, our current vehicle, is this body that we have and the brain that we have and the ability we have to put this vehicle into motion. We're not God in the sense that we do not originate it, but we are part of God in that the fuel works with us, through us, to create what it is we want.
Exactly. So I find so many people will say, well, but I don't know what I want.
Yeah,
Well, that's like getting in the car and you believe the car will take you where you want to go, and it's, well, where you want to go? I don't know where I want to go. Well, then you'll just stay there. You'll just sit there. The car can't take you where you want to go until you tell it where you want to go. So really our job is, and we grew up saying, please, God, please, if I'm good enough, would you please let me have what I want?
Would you push the ignition?
Please, and we
Yeah.
bargain and we do
Yeah.
all this stuff
Yeah.
like, if I'm good enough, would you please? And it's like God's saying, well, what do you want? I can't give you until you decide what you want. And, well, I just want to be happy. Well, everybody wants to be happy, but how can I make you happy? It's different for you and somebody else.
Right. The next step of that, too, is if you imagine that the vehicle is you, or you imagine you have a car and you decide you want to go someplace. It doesn't mean that because you've decided you want to go someplace that it's all going to be smooth and easy and comfortable, and that is, if it isn't all smooth and comfortable, God's not on your side. I've taken many a trip where there were detours and there were dirt roads and there were conditions that I had to manage and deal with, all of which, when I think about it in retrospect, increased my abilities, increased my skills, increased my use of my skills, refined my skills, all of which looked like distractions, but actually were part of the learning that I needed to do to get my goal realized. So another way of saying that is if you're driving someplace and you're not a very good driver, and most of us aren't because we're born having to learn how to drive our bodies, our minds, our consciousness, then maybe when you're not so good a driver, it's not God disappointing you, it's that you need to increase your skills. You need to be willing to develop even greater skills. And so when you do that, of course, then what people will tell me when they've increased those skills is that the things that they desire come more easily. And that is because they've done their homework.
Right, they've done their growth work. And so a lot of what we experience that we don't enjoy is really for us. It's for our growth, even though it may be unpleasant at the time.
Before you do that, I was talking to somebody who was very angry about having a piece of property on the beach that was wiped out by a storm. And they said, how could God make this happen? And I said, did God not give you information about building a place so close to the ocean? Well, yeah, but I like the ocean. And did the universe not tell you that it's dangerous and that it has a desire to change things on occasion? Yes, but I don't like that. So why did God do this to me? And I said, I don't know, and left it alone. But the bottom line is we do a stupid thing, or we do a thing that without much thought, and ask why there's a consequence. And why would God let this happen?
And so we teach a form of prayer that we call affirmative prayer, where we affirm and state what we want as it's already happened. It's in the present tense. It is so. And many of the prayers that nobody ever taught us these bargaining prayers, but we do that on our own. God, please give me. I'll be good if you do, and whatnot.
I'll give 10%.
So that's a bargaining prayer, yeah. And so I have a cute little story to share. It's a perfect example of this. A woman was feeling stressed because she was driving to an important business meeting and could not find a parking space. So she began praying. God, if you'll create a parking space for me, I promise I'll be a better person. I'll practice my faith, I'll be kind to everyone, and give up my vices. Just then a parking space opened up, and as she was pulling into it, she concluded her prayer. Never mind, God, I found one.
How often do we do
I
that?
don't need you to do it
Yeah.
for me. I found one.
Yeah.
Yes, how often do we do
In
that?
an old movie, Burt Reynolds is out drowning in the water, and he
Yes.
says, "God, if you'll save me, I'll give you everything." And he swims a little closer. God, if you save me, I'll give you at least half. And as he gets closer to the beach, after taxes, and then he gets on the beach, he says, "I did this myself." Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Exactly. So a lot of prayers, yeah, and what we do pray for what we want, but we pray affirming that we already have it. But I want to get back to the power of beliefs. You know, tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day. We celebrate Martin Luther King today, and he was such a larger than life figure in my young adult
Mine too.
days that I just realized that probably most people alive today don't even remember. He was not alive when they were born, and including my son. And it's like, wow, how could they not know this figure that was bigger than life and made such a difference in our lives and in the lives of others, so that we bring more equality into our culture and our country. But the quote I have about Martin Luther King is that this is something he said: "The universe is not a tragic expression of meaningless chaos, but a marvelous display of orderly cosmos." He really believed that it was orderly, although it can appear chaotic. And he was, let's see, I had another thing. Oh, here. Oh, I know, it was somebody else who said something that reminded me of King. This is a quote by Bruce Barton, whom I do not know. He wrote the Seven Lost Secrets of Success. But he says, "Nothing splendid has ever been achieved except by those who dared to believe that something inside them was superior to circumstance." Now that applies not only to Dr. Martin Luther King, but to all of us. When seemingly bad things happen, we need to realize that there is something in us that is greater than the circumstance. And that is the power to change our experience by changing our thoughts, changing our belief, changing our faith. Because if we believe that it's all circumstantial, we have faith in circumstances. But we need to have that internal song be that I believe in the power of the law. This is the law of mind, that it's done unto you according to your belief. Just like when we get into a car, we believe in the law of mechanics and thermodynamics. We know the car will start and it will run because we believe in those laws.
This is fueled by God.
Right, right. That's right. But also, then we need to believe always that we have an internal process that is more powerful than any of the circumstances. And it's not the time to say, well, why me, God? What did I ever do to deserve this? You can ask that question later. And as a matter of fact, you often can see it later when you see what your beliefs were and what you expected. But at the time, it's not a good time to start, because you're basically asking, what have I done wrong? What have I thought wrong? What have I believed wrong? And that's not helpful.
Well, Brene Brown talks about research that she did, and she said one of the things that she discovered about human beings in general was that they all believed that they weren't enough. And the not enoughness it causes us to say, I can't, I don't know how, before we've even considered the problem or considered the destination that we want to go to. And so that energy of I can't, I don't know how, I'm not up to that, maybe it's not going to work for me, that's the soundtrack. That's the song that we're often singing that we don't know we're singing. And when we can sing the song of possibility and say, yes, why not? And if not me, then who? Then why not now? As we do that, we can feel the energy literally rise up from within to move us in that direction. But I'm impressed all the time. I work with severely mentally ill people, and I bring 120 pencils with me, color pencils, so that they can color. And I give them things that they can color, and the first thing they say is, I can't color. And I said, there's 120 pencils, and one of the persons said, but I don't know which one to choose. And I said, then I'll choose one for you. Okay. And then I don't know where to color. And I said, well, start over here. And she started coloring, and then she said, I can do this. And then she said, I'll pick the next color. And I thought this is a perfect metaphor for how we all are in life. I want something really great, but I can't. I don't know how. I don't know if I'll make the right choice. And if you make the choice for me, then it's not my choice, and then I don't get the benefit. But if I make the choice, it could be the wrong one. And that seems to be fundamental to our day-to-day activities, is that we're often trying not to do something wrong or trying not to get it, not to have it go badly, as opposed to saying, you know what? I live in an infinite world of possibility, and I'm a part of that. I can do this.
And at this time of year, it's a good idea to be thinking about increased prosperity for ourselves, for others. After all, our vision statement is that what we want to see in the world is a world that works for everyone.
Yeah.
And so this is a Wayne Dyer quote. He says, the first step toward discarding a scarcity mentality involves giving thanks for everything that you are and everything that you have. You can start with, I'm still breathing. I'm in pretty good health. Truly appreciate the miracle that you are. The fact that you're alive, that you have eyes, ears, feet, and that you are here right now in this marvelous dream. Make an effort to begin focusing on what you have rather than on what you are missing. And that's from Wayne Dyer's book. You'll see it when you believe it.
I love it. I got to work the other day, and somebody said, so I guess you didn't win the lottery. It's up to $1.3 billion. And I said, no, that's not true. I was just 6 numbers away from it. And they said, isn't that the same as losing? I said, not for me. Yeah. Yeah, because we have more choices, or we can choose to say, I lose. And so the more we say, I can do this, and if not today, when? And I need to practice. Apparently, I need to pick different numbers because those didn't win. But you see, when you assign yourself the role of loser, then the evidence for losing will be constant. When you assign yourself the role of winning, then you say, I guess those weren't the winning numbers. I need to pick winning numbers next time. So, and it's not just playing with words. It really is. It's essential that we rethink the words we're using. You have another quote?
I'm going to close with a quote, and it's from Ernest Holmes, and it supports this idea that we have as our vision statement, a world that works for everyone. Ernest said, I believe that the greatest single curative power known to the mind of man is a spiritual thought in the subjective mind, meaning the subconscious. By spiritual thought, I mean here an absolute inner conviction that one may trust in the integrity of the universe and that sooner or later all things will be made right. We believe that that's the world we're moving toward. Despite appearances, despite present wars and conflict, despite that things seem to be getting worse in the area of global warming, did you know that in fact, because we focus on what's wrong in the world, that in fact things are better now than they were 50 years ago? 50 years ago, 50% of the world didn't have enough food to eat. They were in starvation mode. Today, only 10% are.
Which is actually huge when you think of how much the population has grown.
Right.
The population has, I think, quadrupled since then, and we only have 10% people not eating. So that's pretty incredible.
So things are, and we are developing the modalities, the technologies that we need to make our world a better, safer planet, and we know that has happened. Let's focus on that and visualize that,
Right.
and pour that into our subjective or subconscious minds.
This might be a good time to mention supporting our center.
Sure.
I'm going to share a screen here.
Support what you want to see more of. Support people who talk about, speak about, write about what you want to see more of in the world. And this also is a prosperity exercise because as you give, you do receive. The first step in any prosperity program is to teach people to start tithing or giving of their time, their talent, and their treasure. And if you can't do it with your treasure, do it with your time and your talent. So let's affirm this is an affirmation. My investment today is made with the full realization that God is the source of my supply and returns it to me enriched and multiplied. And so it
And so
is.
it is. So we'll stop sharing. Yeah, I got it. And we're going to end.
The recording.